Why does United Airlines cling to the Boeing 757 in 2025? A plane once considered obsolete, expensive, and limited in scope. This jet has no modern replacement in their fleet. It gobbles fuel compared to newer twins, and it's a pilot's headache. Yet United still pours resources into it. Stick with me. I'm going to show you how a single aircraft can defy industry logic, outperform expectations, and survive when every expert says it should be retired. Listen, the Boeing 757 was built in the 1980s and 1990s. It's a single-aisle narrow body, bigger than a 737 but smaller than a 767. Its reputation among engineers was always mixed. Good range, but inefficient by today's standards. In the early 2000s, United started replacing them. Yet today, more than 20 years later, dozens remain in their fleet. Why? It starts with performance. The 757 has a powerful Pratt & Whitney engine designed for steep climbs and takeoffs from short runways. Its thrust-to-weight ratio is brilliant. It can take off from Denver or Mexico City with full payloads when other planes have restrictions. That gives United operational flexibility. If you need to launch a flight from a high-altitude airport, the 757 still wins. But raw performance is only part of the story. United quietly invested heavily in modified cockpit avionics, cabin refurbishments, and engine overhauls. They didn't invest millions only to fill museum slots. They saw potential. And passenger loyalty matters. Many travelers remember the spacious cabin, the legacy airline prestige, that nostalgic hum of the 757's engines. There's emotion in the metal. So here we are, a 30-year-old design, updated, recertified, and still in service. United holds onto it not out of sentiment alone, but because logic, real logic, still supports it. On paper, fleet commonality and fuel efficiency rule the day. United today operates a massive Airbus and Boeing 737 MAX fleet, shimmering with new jet savings. The MAX burns roughly 15 to 20% less fuel per seat than a 757. So by standard fleet economics, the 757 should be axed fast. But let's dig deeper. United uses the 757 on transcontinental routes, transborder sectors to Canada and Mexico, and even some transatlantic charters. Its 3,900-mile range with just one aisle and efficient cross-section makes it far more economical than a 767 or a 787 on those medium-haul routes. You don't need a wide-body and you don't want to launch a near-empty one. Then there is scheduling efficiency. Suppose United operates 2 757 flights a day on certain routes. They've optimized maintenance turnarounds for that airframe. Crews are trained, spares are stocked, logistics are honed. Introducing a new model here has costs, not just in dollars, but in scheduling risk and disruption. Sometimes the smooth, predictable 757 is worth the extra fuel cost. Then come lease and ownership details. Some of United's 757s are owned outright, fully depreciated. Their fixed cost is low. Compare that to leasing newer jets or taking delivery. They come with high capital and leasing charges. Why retire a fully written-off asset when it still earns revenue? Also, they used to have a fleet of ex-US Airways and ex-Iberia 755s at lower acquisition cost. United refurbished many of them rather than replace them. A smart rebuild can cost far less than ordering brand new airframes. All of this builds a compelling cost-benefit case. Yes, fuel efficiency is lower, but capital cost is near zero. Schedules are optimized. Pilot and maintenance crews know the plane inside out, and the niche performance still matters. So the ledger may still add up in favor of holding them. United's route map isn't just New York to Chicago. It includes airports like Aspen, Telluride, and other challenging field environments. At Denver International Airport, for example, high altitude and heat-degrade performance, the 757 has the thrust to carry full loads even when competing aircraft must limit fuel or payload. That's a critical edge. Then there's engine-out climb and ETOPS-like resilience. Losing an engine on a 757 still leaves a strong climb capability to clear terrain and return to field. That's not a spec you find in many modern narrow bodies. In winter, when air temperature is near zero, icing and de-icing delays grind other aircraft. Mechanics tell me that the 757's wing design and engine position reduce ice buildup. It's not faster to de-ice, but it's more predictable. United counts on that reliability during storms. On the flip side, the 757 is loud inside. Business class passengers can sometimes feel the low-frequency rumble. But when timed well, say evening departures, they board grudgingly and note the wide windows, roomy overhead bins, and strong climb slope, which gives them that steep angle departure thrill. It's an experience that newer jets rarely deliver. Maintenance crews develop an attachment to legacy aircraft. The 757 has a mechanical simplicity, rugged structure, fewer composite components, fewer complex systems than modern jets. Mechanics who grew up working on them appreciate the familiar tools and parts. In contrast, new jets bring composites, FBW fly-by-wire logic, and digital systems that require intensive training and unique tooling. United's maintenance quality is high. They can sustain older jets with cost-effective parts supply and in-house overhauls. Because these aircraft are owned, not leased, they can be cannibalized for spares without violating lease agreements. This saves money and speeds repairs. Pilot culture matters too. Older pilots who flew 757s love the type's direct handling. No canned control laws, no sterile feel. It gives a connection to the aerodynamics. Newer pilots trained on Sikorsky-like fly-by-wire systems often appreciate that cross-training. The 757 keeps a skill set alive. Training departments meanwhile salvage value from keeping the type alive, investing in recurrent training that includes variable pitch, manual backup systems, and older auto-throttle systems builds pilot competence. When they transition to other aircraft like 737-based types, having that experience deepens safety margins. There's also a fan culture. United staff, enthusiasts, and industry media sometimes celebrate the 757 for its heritage. It's the Swiss Army knife of the fleet. That intangible morale, the pride, counts for something. But what about safety and regulations? Older airframes must meet wear and tear scrutiny. Fatigue inspections, cabin systems upgrades, avionics retrofits, ETOPS evaluation if needed. United has invested in structural inspection programs that are more rigorous than FAA minimums. They use ultrasonic crack detection, eddy current inspections, and structural reinforcements where needed. No more cracks, no framing failures. That investment means a 757 can stay airworthy for decades beyond original projections. They also fitted it with new GPS-based navigation and ADS-B-compliant transponders to fit modern airspace. They haven't skimped on modernization where it counts. Every time a United 757 flew transatlantic charter missions or snowbird operations to Hawaii, federal regulators vetted crew training and aircraft performance. The jet proved itself repeatedly under pressure. It even carried oddball missions during pilot shortages and cargo surges. All this in-air proven performance reinforces its case. The safety record remains strong. While retirements elsewhere flagged cracking issues or fan hub fatigue, United's sustained maintenance regime kept their jets flying safely, consistently. That's not random. That's engineering discipline. Now let's address the emotional side. Frequent flyers and aviation fans love the 757. Its low-frequency engine roar on takeoff, its solid climb, its resonance in the cabin. There's presence. United's marketing barely acknowledges it, but social media lights up whenever a 757 shows up on a transcontinental flight. Throwback vibes, people say. That seat-of-your-pants climb reminds me of flying in the old days. Employees too, the flight attendants, dispatchers, pilots, pass down stories of 757 days when they hand off trips. That institutional memory shapes culture. New crew members ask, When do we get the 757 again? There's affection there. Across decades, that mental comfort adds crew performance reliability. Brand identity isn't numbers alone. It's the feel, the hum, the invites people say, "That was United 757. You know it when you hear it." That emotional continuity matters even if it's subtle. So is United stuck with them forever? Number, they're not ordering new 757s. They aren't even in production. But replacements are costly. A brand new 737 MAX or A321XLR is more fuel efficient. But would it perform from high-altitude fields with full loads the way a 757 does? Only the XLR might, and that's just entering service. When United finally does retire the 757, they'll need to ensure replacements can match climb and runway performance and can work within existing crew and maintenance infrastructure. That transition will take years of pilot training, aircraft acquisition, and infrastructure tweaks. They're not eager to rush. Meanwhile, the 757 continues to earn revenue on its best routes at high load factors with predictable turnarounds. And when a hurricane blows up the West Coast or when Denver soars in summer heat, they need that raw performance and reliability. But the risks are real. Higher fuel, limited part supply, aging mechanics workforce, and eventual regulatory thresholds. A structural inspection threshold could trigger mass retirements, or a new noise or emissions rule could render them too expensive. United knows that. That's why they steadily modernize and plan long-term. The end is planned, but slow. So here's the real paradox. United still loves the 757, not despite the logic, but because, when you look deeper, it still makes sense. Against all surface-level assumptions, behind the record-breaking fuel stats and gleaming new jets, this old workhorse carries a unique blend of performance, economics, culture, and reliability. Maybe soon they'll retire it. Maybe the XLR or a future Airbus model will take over that niche. But even then, the lessons will endure. That airplane taught mechanics world-class discipline, showed pilots a hands-on flying feel, and anchored United's brand in resilience. Here's the final question I want you to keep with you. When the last United 757 finally lands for one final time, will the fleet lose a lifeline? Or did United simply outsmart logic by building something that outlasts logic itself?